Yo, guys, I've been a DeAndre Hunter fan for quite some time, probably since the year that his team went to the NCAA finals and won it. And I really thought he was a great pick when they drafted him, top of the draft, guy who was a Swiss Army knife. And going into his second season, he was fulfilling that potential. He was like averaging like 17 points a game. I think it was like 5 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists a night, and then he broke that wrist. And since then, that wrist has really given him trouble. I'm a guy who's actually broke my own wrist 2 years ago. I had or 3 years ago, a trianklium fracture. It only took me 2 weeks to recover. I was in a cast for a week. Either way, over the last 18 months, specifically since Quin Snyder took over, I swear, slowly, more and more, we've seen that DeAndre Hunter that we expected. And this season, DeAndre Hunter, in my opinion, is finally putting it together on a consistent basis. So before we start today's video, I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of DeAndre Hunter? I know he's only played a handful of games. I think it's like 9 or 10 so far, but he is averaging 18 points, 47% from the field, 40% from three, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and he's coming off a 2-year span where he was averaging just under 16 points, about 15.5 points a game on like 37% from three, 45% from the field, 4 rebounds and an assist a night. But this year, he's really taken it to the next level, being the quintessential Swiss Army knife that we thought he could be when he came out of the University of Virginia and was drafted 4th overall. So I think the bigger thing is the Hawks, like DeAndre Hunter, are better than you think. So the Atlanta Hawks are now 9-11, and after beating, yes, today was a great game, by the way. It was a really, really good game against the Cavaliers. They beat the Cavaliers, who are arguably one of, if not the best team in the Eastern Conference, not named the Celtics, but by record standing, they are the best team currently. And I think this is a large result. The Atlanta Hawks, in their second full season under Quin Snyder, who took over midway through the 2022 to 23 season, has finally implemented this strategy that is working. The team scheme is emphasizing ball movement, being more efficient on offense, and using their versatility to be a defensive team that adapts to the matchups. We've seen Trae Young take a step, personally, in my opinion, in his game. We've seen Jalen Johnson over the last 2 years make a leap in his game. DeAndre Hunter, Garrison Mathews, the list goes on and on. With that being said, I think the biggest thing is when you look at a team like the Hawks, they've got some firepower, and some firepower that I think is worth noting. That with 29.9 assists per game, which is third best in the league for a team stat, is a testament to Quin Snyder's philosophy of ball movement, which we saw with the Utah Jazz. We have Trae Young, who has been the best passer in the NBA since he's came into the league statistically. It was on full display. He had 22 assists, which was a career high against the Cavaliers. His shooting percentages this year of 39% from the field, 33% from three, are obviously leaving room for improvement, but it's been a regular occurrence now that Trae Young, shooting wise, starts cold, and then by the end of the mid to the end of the year, he picks it up and he goes off. Jalen Johnson's been a revelation. He's obviously taken this new role to its extreme, averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, almost 50% from the field. Dude, he's averaging a defensive impact of stocks of almost 4 stocks a game, 1.5 steals, 1.1 blocks. Just his growth epitomizes Snyder's ability to develop players and expand their impact on both ends of the court. And DeAndre Hunter, we've said it, been a game changer. 23 points right now against the Cavs, 40% from three so far through 9 games, is just showing also developing everybody. Even Bogdanovich is looking great. Zachary Rissache is starting to figure it out with every game that he goes. I think he's just figuring out, picking his spots, and just understanding what he can and what he can't do. And this is the crazier part, is that their scoring depth allowed the Hawks to outmatch, the Cavs, where they saw their bench outscore the Cavs reserves 50-28. I think Snyder's coaching style, that's maximizing this team's offensive power and also making them better defensively, fundamentally, which is something that they've struggled in the Trae Young era. They rank top 3 in assists. They are 9th in rebounding efforts. I've always said it. Rebounds demoralizes your opponent, gives you second chance opportunities, and then of course, it just imposes your will on your opponent. So I think that's just the biggest thing. As we just get more and more into this, those are things to consider, and those are creating a competitive environment, as well as I know the defense allows them to have room to grow up to the 3rd worst opponents scoring wise. They allow the 3rd most points total allowed. They allow the 3rd most points per game. Jesus, that was hard. 120 per game. Onyeka Okongwu and Dyson Daniels are embracing their defensive roles, and they do a great job of being stopgap managers, as well as Garrison Mathews. I think let's give Garrison Mathews shooting 47% from 3. He's been fantastic. Clint Capela has been efficient, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 60%. And obviously, Dyson Daniels guarding every player, averaging 3 steals a night. This guy's got to be the defensive player of the year. Marcus Smart had to complain his way to a defensive player of the year. Dyson Daniels, everybody's just taking notice. So yes, they're currently 9th in the Eastern Conference, but I think they're finding consistency. This team is figuring it out. They have a legit rotation of Clint Capela, Trae Young, Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Ricochet, Okongwu, Hunter, and Bogdan. That's like their 8-man rotation. Sprinkle in a little bit of Kobe Buffkin and Larry Nance or Garrison Mathews, depending on the matchup, if they need to, or if there's an injury. But they got legitimately, they have their 2 bona fide scorers in Jalen Johnson and Trae Young. Then they have DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan, who both can give you points whenever needed. Like, they're both like teen scorers. They're going to be giving you like 12 to 16 points a night. You got Dyson Daniels, who can score if needed, and he can have a hot game. You got Ricochet, who can have a hot game. Okongwu and Clint Capela are rebounders, but they can have a hot game. And I like it. I do think that the Clint Capela situation is one to watch as we get further with this. To wrap up this video, just as we get further along with this, and you're like, well, okay, why is the Clint Capela situation one to watch? It's because he's an expiring contract, and I think at this point they're not going to keep him, and I really do believe if they want to not lose him uncompensated, you go looking around the league for Mitchell Robinson or Mitchell Robinson makes less than Clint Capela, but or Nick Richards or somebody who's on a multi-year deal already that makes about the same or probably less because you paid Onyeka. Nick Richards would be someone that you would like to bring in. I mean, Goga Bitsadeh was extended, but you get the point that I'm making.